Beyond the Gates spoilers tease that Hayley's pregnancy, once whispered about behind closed doors, is now becoming public knowledge, and the timing couldn't be worse. Rumors travel fast in a town like this, and Hayley seems all too eager to control the narrative. She clutches her abdomen, smiles politely at concerned neighbors, and insists with conviction that the child is Bill's. Her voice doesn't shake. Her gaze doesn't falter. But Ashley sees something no one else is willing to look for: the gaps in the story, the slight tremor in Hayley's fingers when questioned too closely. Ashley's been around long enough to know when something doesn't add up. She works at the local clinic and has been close to both Bill and Hayley for years. In that time, she's seen hundreds of patients come in and out, all with varying needs and levels of secrecy. But Hayley's situation feels different. There's no medical file at the clinic. No appointment history. No ultrasound records. For someone nearly 3 months pregnant, Hayley's digital trail is eerily empty. It starts with a casual question over coffee. "So when's your next scan?" Ashley asks one afternoon, eyes trained on Hayley's face. Hayley barely misses a beat. "I had it done last week," she says, brushing a hand across her stomach with practiced ease. "But I went to a clinic out of town. It was closer to my mother's, and I was already visiting her." Ashley doesn't react, just stirs her coffee slowly. "Which clinic?" Hayley frowns, searching for a name. "A Pine Hill Women's Center. Small place." Ashley knows it's a lie. Pine Hill closed down 2 years ago. She doesn't call Hayley out immediately. Instead, she starts making notes: dates, inconsistencies, expressions. Every time Hayley mentions her pregnancy, Ashley listens more closely. It isn't long before she begins to voice her concerns to Bill, her tone careful but clear. "Has Hayley shown you the scans?" she asks him one evening, after a charity fundraiser. Bill looks confused. "No, but I haven't asked." "Why?" Ashley pauses. "Because something feels off. She's avoiding tests here, and there's no medical record that matches her timeline." Bill's initial reaction is defensive. He doesn't want to believe it. Why would she lie? That doesn't make sense. But Ashley knows better than to let that be the end of it. Days later, she corners Hayley again, this time in front of Bill. "I've checked with Pine Hill. They've been closed for a long time. So where exactly did you get this ultrasound done?" Hayley's eyes widen for a fraction of a second. She recovers fast, turning to Bill with a tight smile. "I told you she was going to push this." Then to Ashley, "I didn't want to say it, but the truth is I've had some complications. I'm not ready for another scan. The last one stressed me out too much. My doctor said I should wait another week or 2. It's a calculated move." She knows Bill will step in to protect her. And he does, at least partially. "Ash, maybe back off for now," he mutters, unsure. "If her doctor said." Ashley nods, but inside, her suspicion hardens into certainty. Hayley's lying. And whatever she's hiding isn't small. That night, Hayley makes a call. Alone in her car, parked on a quiet street, she dials a number she hasn't used in years. It rings twice before a voice answers, a deep, familiar voice that makes her chest tighten. "Chris," she says softly. "I need a favor." Chris Rogers was the man Hayley once thought she'd marry. Their history was messy: late nights, impulsive decisions, long drives to nowhere. But he knew her better than most. She tells him what she needs. She wants to get pregnant. For real. Quietly. Immediately. "You're kidding," he says after a long pause. "You want me to?" "What, be a donor?" "Not exactly," Hayley replies. "Just spend a night with me. No strings. You won't have to be involved." Chris laughs, low and bitter. "You've lost your mind." But Hayley knows how to sway him. She talks about old times, uses her voice like a silk thread wrapping around his neck. Eventually, he agrees. What Hayley doesn't realize is that Ashley has started following her. Armed with suspicion and a deep sense of unease, Ashley tracks Hayley's movements, watches her pull into a cheap motel off Highway 17. She waits. When she sees a man enter the room 15 minutes later, she doesn't hesitate. She takes a photo. Then she makes another call. This one to Bill. When Bill arrives, he doesn't storm in. He watches first. Ashley hands him the photo. It's not grainy. It's not unclear. It's Hayley, laughing with Chris outside room 204. A man she swore she hadn't spoken to in years. A man who, according to town gossip, was once much more than just a friend. Together, Bill and Ashley walk to the door. Bill knocks. Inside, Hayley freezes. When she opens it, her world tilts. She tries to speak, but the words catch in her throat. Bill doesn't yell. He doesn't need to. The silence does enough damage. He turns and walks away without a word. Ashley stays behind just long enough to look Hayley in the eye. I told you, she says. I knew you weren't telling the truth. Hayley stands alone in the doorway, her fake pregnancy exposed, her marriage hanging by a thread, and the weight of her lies pressing down on her chest. But she's not done yet. Because for Hayley, shame is just another thing to survive. She starts to spin a new narrative. She tells Bill that she was confused. That she panicked. That the pregnancy was real once, but she lost the baby. She says the grief made her do stupid things. She talks about fear, about abandonment, about wanting to fix something that couldn't be fixed. She cries. She leans into vulnerability like a shield. And part of Bill wants to believe her. Ashley watches from a distance. She knows better. She's seen women like Hayley turn desperation into performance. But what Ashley doesn't know, what no one knows, is that Hayley isn't finished with Chris. In fact, Chris is starting to believe her version of the story. That she was trapped. That Bill was cold. That Ashley always hated her. Hayley's manipulation goes deeper now. She plants seeds of loyalty in Chris's mind. Tells him he could be the father. That maybe this time, things could be different. She draws him in slowly. By the time the town hears whispers again of Hayley being pregnant, again Chris is holding her hand in public, and Bill is barely seen at all. The town is ready for the next scandal. But Ashley isn't. She's preparing to end this once and for all. The whispers turned into murmurs, and the murmurs turned into full-on accusations. By the time Hayley appeared back in public draped in soft sweaters and resting her hands protectively over her still flat stomach, people had already decided which side they stood on. Some believed her story, that a miscarriage had left her desperate and confused, that grief had driven her into Chris's arms. Others, like Ashley, weren't buying a single word. Ashley had seen the shift in Chris firsthand. A man who once kept a healthy distance from town drama now followed Hayley like a shadow. He walked her to her car after coffee, picked her up for dinner dates, stood a little too close at farmers markets. It wasn't just sympathy, it was investment. Hayley had done what she always did, rewrite the narrative to protect herself and pull others into her orbit to validate the lie. Bill, meanwhile, had retreated. His once booming voice now barely rose above a mutter. He stopped attending council meetings. He skipped the annual charity gala. Even his law firm saw less and less of him. No one had seen a formal separation filed, but his absence said enough. He wasn't living at home anymore. According to a local bartender, he was renting a small apartment on the east side of town, quiet, private, and conveniently far away from Hayley. Still, he hadn't fully let go. That's what puzzled Ashley. He hadn't come out publicly against Hayley. He hadn't issued a statement. He hadn't even denied the renewed pregnancy rumors when asked directly. It was as if he was waiting for something, proof, perhaps, or some final betrayal that would sever the last frayed thread between them. Ashley, ever patient, knew how to find it. She began compiling a record. Not just photos, she already had enough of those, but receipts. Surveillance footage. She dug into clinic databases again. No appointment history for Hayley at any legitimate OB/GYN within a 100-mile radius. Nothing matched her claimed due date. Nothing verified her doctor even existed. And then came the break. Ashley paid a contact in hospital billing to search under Hayley's name. What came back wasn't a prenatal folate, was a prescription history. One entry stood out, a refill of hormonal supplements commonly used to simulate early pregnancy symptoms. Bloating, breast tenderness, nausea. It was the linchpin. But Ashley didn't go to Bill right away. She wanted to be sure Hayley wouldn't slip out of it. Instead, she tracked down Chris. She found him outside a hardware store, loading lumber into the back of his truck. She approached calmly. "She's lying to you too," Ashley said without introduction. Chris looked up. "You don't know anything about it. She's not pregnant. Not now. Not ever. I have records that prove it." He shook his head. "She said you'd do this. Try to twist everything. She said you've always hated her." Ashley handed him an envelope. "Read it. Then decide who's twisting what." Inside were the prescriptions, the clinic voids, and a photo of Hayley leaving the pharmacy. A week passed. Chris didn't say anything, but his behavior shifted. The smiles disappeared. He stopped touching Hayley in public. He started asking her questions mid-conversation, questions she didn't expect. And Hayley, for the first time, started slipping. She claimed she had morning sickness, but ate a full plate at the diner. She mentioned an upcoming ultrasound, then forgot which hospital. When Chris offered to drive her, she got sick and canceled. It unraveled fast. Ashley wasn't finished. She called Bill. Asked him to meet her behind the clinic, same place they'd met weeks earlier. This time, she handed him everything. "Don't just disappear," she told him. "Don't let her bury you in this." Bill read the file slowly. His hands didn't shake. But when he reached the last page, he let out a single, exhausted breath. "She told me I was going to be a father. Twice. She's been telling everyone." Bill tucked the papers into his coat pocket. "What do you want me to do with this?" "Do whatever you need to," Ashley said. "But make sure it's the last time she gets to rewrite everything." The next day, Bill called a press conference. He stood at the edge of town hall, facing a dozen reporters, and read a brief statement. "There has been a great deal of speculation about my personal life. I want to clarify that I am not expecting a child with Hayley, nor am I currently in any relationship with her. Claims to the contrary are not only false, but intentionally misleading." It was short, clean, devastating. The reaction was immediate. Hayley disappeared from social media. Chris stopped showing up to work. Rumors said he'd packed up and left town. Bill moved back into his house alone. Ashley stayed silent, but she kept her eyes open. Then came the final twist. A call to Ashley's office. Blocked number. A woman's voice whispering, almost frantic. "You don't know what she's capable of," the voice said. "She's not done." Ashley traced the call to a payphone outside of town. It had to be Chris. Or someone close to him. She wasn't sure. But it left her rattled. Days later, Hayley reappeared. Not in town. In the hospital. She'd been found unconscious in a motel room, same one as before. No drugs in her system, no signs of injury. Just a note on the nightstand, a single sentence. "If you can't love the story, maybe you'll mourn the ending." She survived. Barely. Ashley visited once, just to be sure she was real. Hayley lay in the hospital bed, eyes glazed, fur in her arm. She looked thinner. Pale. "I was going to be a mother," she whispered. Ashley stared at her. "You were never going to be anything except exactly what you already are." No one pressed charges. There wasn't enough. The prescriptions were legal. The lies weren't crimes. But reputations didn't recover. Hayley's house was sold. Her name faded from community boards. Invitations dried up. She became the story people told in whispers, not greetings. Bill stayed single. Quiet. Focused on his work. Ashley kept the files. Because deep down, she believed the voice on that phone. It wasn't over. 3 months passed. The town, restless as ever, moved on to newer gossip and embezzlement scandal at City Hall, a retired judge's affair with a much younger woman. But beneath the surface, the fallout from Hayley's deception still lingered like smoke in a house that hadn't fully cooled. People avoided the subject, yet the silence around her was louder than anything they could have said. Hayley had recovered physically, but she wasn't the same. After her hospitalization, she didn't return home. She lived in a small unit on the outskirts of town, where no one knocked and the blinds were always drawn. She no longer made public appearances. No social media updates. No community involvement. She had become a ghost in her own life, existing, not living. But even ghosts leave traces. Ashley received another anonymous message. No caller ID. Just a short voicemail. The voice altered. You stopped her once. But she's not the only one lying. She played the message twice. Then again. Then 5 more times. There was something in the Frisinga hint, a crack in the altered pitch. Ashley began wondering, if Hayley wasn't the end of the road, who was? She thought about Bill. His press conference had been the final blow to Hayley's credibility. But had it also served another purpose? A distraction. A clean cut. An exit strategy. Ashley quietly pulled Bill's hospital access logs from the months prior. She compared them with Hayley's initial pregnancy claim timeline. There were inconsistencies. Not just about Hayley, but about Bill himself. Specifically, a series of late-night visits to the ER under a false patient name. When she dug deeper, she discovered that the alias was linked to hormone therapy treatment. The same kind Hayley had been caught refilling. The implication chilled her. Either Bill had helped Hayley stage the pregnancy or worse, had orchestrated the lie from the beginning and turned on her to protect himself when it unraveled. She arranged a meeting. Bill agreed to see her. They met in a neutral location in abandoned property near the town's reservoir. Ashley came with evidence in hand. Bill arrived empty-handed but wore that same steady, unreadable face. She handed him a folder. You lied, she said. You helped her. Or you knew and you let her take the fall. Bill didn't open the folder. He just looked at her. What do you want? Answers. I already gave those. To the press. Not to me. Bill glanced toward the water, its surface flat and dark. I didn't help her lie. I helped her survive. At first. When she told me she was pregnant, I believed her. She cried in our kitchen. Told me she needed this. That we needed this. And when did you find out it wasn't real? 2 weeks before you did. His voice was low. By then, everything had already cracked. Ashley took a breath. You didn't expose her to stop her. You exposed her to save yourself. He didn't deny it. Ashley left him there by the water. Not angry. Just done. Meanwhile, Hayley made one final move. She contacted Chris. He agreed to meet her. They sat in her dimly lit living room, where the air smelled faintly of cheap lavender cleaner and forgotten meals. She handed him a small envelope inside, a sonogram photo. He blinked. This isn't real. It is, she whispered. There's no date. No name. This could be anything. I got pregnant after the hospital. You were the last one. Chris stood up, breathing hard. You're lying again. I'm not. She reached for his hand, but he pulled away. I came to say goodbye, Hayley. That's all. After he left, she stared at the photo for a long time. The edges were already curling. The next morning, Ashley received a final letter in her mailbox. Handwritten. No return address. It read, You were right. I lied. About everything. I wanted to feel needed. Wanted to matter. I never did. You tried to stop me and you did. But that doesn't mean you saved me. No one could. Not even me. It wasn't signed, but Ashley knew who had written it. Later that week, Hayley checked herself into a long-term psychiatric care facility 2 towns over. No fanfare. No farewell. She disappeared, not in shame but in silence. Bill resumed work. Quietly. No public appearances. He became a man shaped by damage control, neither hero nor villain, just someone who'd learned to let things slip through his hands before they could burn. Chris left town permanently. Some said he took a job down south. Others believed he just wanted to disappear from everything tied to Hayley's name. Ashley stayed. She continued her work at the clinic, more guarded now, more distant. She spoke less, listened more. She had notebooks full of timelines, lies, motives. But she never published them. Never sent them to the media. The truth had come out enough of it, at least. The rest could rot with those who clung to it. Because not every lie needs a spotlight. Some truths, once uncovered, do more damage in the light than they ever did in the dark.